PTC Creo Parametric 3.0, Lesson 22, Part 1. In the series of lectures that are going to be accompanying Lesson 22, we also have multiple pages in the download. So instead of just a couple of pages showing basically what the assembly looks like, there is a series of 3 parts. There's the shaft, there's the taper coupling, and there's the straight coupling. Then we're going to, so there'll be 3 lectures there. There'll be a lecture for the assembly, and then a lecture for, there's the parts. Some of these are standard parts from the library. You can also model those. And then we have exploded view and an assembly drawing. We might also cover the drawings for the first 3 parts also, the shaft and the coupling and the taper coupling. We're going to start off with the shaft, and I think what I'll do with this one is I'll expand this out and make it a lot larger so we can see it. The drawing has a series of figures that go with it. So you can see we have here a couple of views showing the dimensions, and yes, everything works. This was originally done on an AutoCAD system, and then we moved it over to Pro Engineer years ago. So I'm not really thrilled with some of the dimensioning sequences that you will see. The design intent is a little unclear, but regardless, you will be, there's another view, a section view. You're going to be making the shaft first. The 3 parts you're going to be modeling completely. They're not provided for you. And if you look closely, there is sufficient information here to get everything completed. So we'll go back up to the very top, and we'll start there. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and open up the project that already exists, and I'm going to isolate each one of the parts, and we're going to walk through. I'm going to close this now. You can see this is the assembly. And we're going to start off with the shaft. And basically, some of these things, well, most of them you should know already. A few things I will add information on. But in general, I'm just going to be talking about design intent and going over the steps that were created, that were used to create this. So let us close this first. And so we only have one window open. And I'm going to open up the shaft, like so, and I'll turn on all the datum planes that were used to create it. Like so. It's a long part, so I'm going to turn off my spin center. That way when I spin it, I can just hold down on a particular position and it will spin from there on the model. All right, so let's go over to the tools and take a look at the model player and see how this was created. So we have our default datums, coordinate system, and our first feature. So an awful lot was done at the very first feature that was created. And this is really, in some cases, you'll see this is maybe not such a great idea. Second feature, third feature, all these other ones are all relatively small features, adding cuts, grooves, etc. Now, I'll go through them until I get to one that's actually worth looking at. There's a slot. Another cut there. I have another slot put up in the front here. I'm actually using the word slot on purpose. And we have a cut here, revolved cut. And you can see how it looks. It's fairly complicated. So it wasn't put in as a standard hole, it was put in a revolved cut. Could also put a revolved hole in there, just a sketched hole. And some information was added as far as threads go. If we turn off our shading here, you'll see that a cosmetic thread was put in. I actually put in like an external thread on this one. And there's a reason for that. The cosmetic threads for holes were not available when this was first modeled. So it'll be up to you to decide what you want to do when you get to certain features, whether you're going to do them as standard, let's say cuts, or say a couple more in here. And we'll end it. Okay, so let's look at that very first one. We're going to click on the feature, the Revolve feature, and open it up and take a look at it. And I think I'll turn off my model tree so we can see. And again, you can see this is very complicated. There's an awful lot of little steps that were used in here. And I want to give you a technique, not just for this one, but for a variety of projects that make it a lot easier. And that is to not model everything at once. So for instance, in this one here, let's say if we only went to this point, and I will delete this. These are referenced by other things, so I have to do this a few times. And I'll get rid of the one line on the bottom also. So let's say you do have a complicated feature, not necessarily this one, but this one will work also. So what you do is you go to a logical stopping point in the design. Okay, just a few steps here. The dimensions are wrong now, but we'll leave them. And what you do is you finish this, like so, come all the way out, and then go back in. You can usually say this is where you should save it. So if something happens to your section, you still have this much completed. So we'll go back in and continue on. So at this particular point, you would add all the other steps over here, delete this line, and make this line go all the way across. And again, this is mainly telling you how design intent would work good for other situations. Now, I'm not saying to do it on this one. Though I think it might work out better because sometimes it's difficult for people to get all the steps, the edges and the cuts in here in one feature. Adding them as separate features is also not a bad idea. In other words, you can do a very simple thing and then maybe add a cut or add a step over here. All right, so that was just mainly just to tell you that it is possible to do pieces of it and then add on to the section and save them in between so you don't lose anything. So we'll finish this one out and we will close it. So that is our first component, the first feature. So what we want to do here is let's go back in, we're way up here, and you have a lot of these little necks, and you won't find the necks. The neck command, if I go in and I go into my options and my config options, and I show all of them, and we go down here to allow anatomic features. These are old features that were there from 1985 or 89 to whatever, maybe 5-7 years ago, and they're hidden now. So you have flange, neck, slot, ear, shaft. They're simple commands because they cut to the chase. They get rid of a bunch of selections because it's already noted that you want to make, let's say, a neck, which is a revolved cut. So you eliminate some of the steps in the old style menus. So if you ever wanted to see these or look for them on the menu structure, then you would type in yes here and click OK. Now, how old is this part? So let's go up here and click on the command locator and put in history, file history. So this was originally created in 1996. So well before the Creo suite of software packages from PTC. So you will see some odd words. So you'll see neck and protrusion. This should have been revolve, and neck would have been revolve cut. So these would have been revolve. Most of these would be revolve. Slot would have been here's a slot up here. Slot would have been primarily for extruded cuts, basically. Same thing. All right. So we're looking at the slot right now. So why don't we get in a little bit closer and take a look at it. What I'll do is I will suppress it, and we'll build it again. So we're in the Model tab, and we're going to put on a datum plane. Now we could build this into the command. If we did that, we'd just go directly to Extrude, and we're going to cut, and we would go over to our datum here and select our plane. And I'm going to pick on the top surface, and I'm going to select tangent, not through or normal. Hold down my Control key, and then I have to select another reference. So this is normal, and I want it to be normal. Well, actually, I want it to be normal because it's at 90 degrees. So there's my new datum plane. Okay, so that's going to be my sketching plane when I resume here. And let's go into our sketch view. And we're going to build this slot in here. I'm not going to worry too much about precise dimensions here. So the easiest way for this slot to be created is to use circle and create two circles that are identical. Make sure you watch the references as they come up. So whenever you're doing this, as long as it locks in, it'll let you know that it's the correct size. So I've got a couple of circles, and I want to have a tangency between them for the slot on the top and the bottom. And then I want to remove the segments that are stopping it from being a valid section. Little mouse button. And I do want, in this particular case, put in another dimension. I think the dimension for this is going to go from here to the edge, like so. I can't remember exactly. If you do have a slot dimension, there's three valid ways of doing it. Outer to outer would be one of them, and then dimensioning this. But regardless of what it is, that's basically what we're looking at as far as doing our slot. I'm not going to worry about the dimensions in this particular case. So click OK and go back into your shading with edges. And I think this one is, okay, see, it says 133. So it's a metric set of parts and assembly. Let's try to remember that. I can't remember what the depth is. I'm just going to go 35 and check, see what happens. A little way too deep. But that's basically, I'm just trying to show the method. This lesson 22 used to be the final project for my classes, and now it's the final lesson in the book. So it's going to be kind of a combination. You're on your own, but also I'm going to give you some help on how to approach things that may have not been seen before. So while we're there, let's do another one of those. So again, here we have our slot in the tapered portion, and let's suppress that. And this time, let's just go directly to the plane, datum plane, and put it on the external. In other words, before we do the cut. So it's through, but we really want that to be tangent. Hold down your Control key and select something that's 90 degrees to it. Maybe we'll switch the direction of viewing here. Okay, or creation. And we're going to click on, we're going to deselect it, extrude, remove material, and then select the new datum plane that just went in. That should be datum plane number 17. And go into our sketch view. A little bit on it, and you can change this if you want. We can sketch it here, but you can see that it's not 90 degrees perpendicular to the center line, to the datum plane here. It's actually parallel to, or we're looking normal to that edge here of the taper. So we do have a reference down the middle. So again, this is simply the same thing. There is one little difference in this one. So put in a couple of equal circles. Should have done this first, hidden line. And then go directly. You don't have to end a command, by the way. You don't have to hit middle mouse button in many cases. Right mouse button to get what you want. Here we can't find what we want. We want a tangency for the line. So we'll pick that, like so. And then again, you don't have to end the command. Just click on delete segment. In other words, select the next thing you want to do. Then you click your middle mouse button. And on this one, it's a little bit different. I actually want a dimension to the edge here. And we'll go and turn this on. So they want an edge here. So one of the things we can do is references, and we can select this edge like so. And we can put a point in there. Careful where you put the point, not here, but here. And then we can put a dimension to that particular point. And again, I can't remember if we went from the edge to here, or if we went from here to here, or from the edge over. Can't remember. So again, the dimensioning scheme for this particular slot is a little bit different here. That's what we're showing. Center to center rather than the outside sides for the slot. So those are our two slots. Cancel the command and go back into our shaded and our standard orientation. Undo. Like so. We do have external threads on the outside here. I think we do. Let's check. Let's go back over to our hidden line. And yes, so they put in a cosmetic thread here. I put another cosmetic thread over in this portion. So that's something you want to add. And we've done that in on the swivel in lesson 7. No, I'm sorry, lesson 6. Now, on the opposite end here, we have another, we talked about it, the hole with the cosmetic thread. So let's click on that. Excuse me. I'm going to go back to my shaded first. And again, here's the cosmetic added afterwards. Here's the hole that we're going to go look at. And we are in the hole tool. I didn't notice that before. But if you click here, this is the sketcher. And this is putting in a hole using the sketcher. That's valid for the Creo product also. Now, the only thing here I would say is that I don't like these half sets of degrees. It should be an included angle. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some construction. Oh, I don't think I need that one, but I'll put it in there anyway. We need this one. And we need this construction one. And that construction. So now one of the things we can do is we can add a point right here. And then we have our dimension for our included angle. So this should be symmetric. So we're going to click symmetric. Click here, point, point. Now, since we've got that built in, we want to go and we want to add a dimension as the included angle here. And delete the half angle. Like so. And on the bottom, if we were to do the same thing, again, you're doing a construction line. Put as many construction lines as you want. Don't want to use too many. It starts to look a little goofy. And again, let's stick in a point. Like so. And symmetric. Center line. Point and point. And add our full dimension it the wrong way. How about this? Out here instead of inside. Get rid of the half dimension. So this is really what you want. So you might as well work on the sketch to make it correct. The other dimensions are okay, not in the greatest position, but that doesn't make any difference. When you get to detailing this, you're going to have to move into everything around anyway. All right, so let's check that. Now you'll have to save it. I don't want to save it on mine. I demo it when in the situation that's not very good. In other words, show how to change things. So that's the first component of lesson 22, the shaft.